Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Florian Eder. I'm the writer and editor of Brussels Playbooks. You wake up with me in the morning, I would hope very much. Yeah. Just for those of you who've never met me in person. Before we start the interview, it is my particular pleasure that my partner in crime, Zoya Šefčelović from Australia, is here tonight. She made it all the way over, and she must be somewhere. Zoya, where are you? Oh, here. A very rare and much welcome occasion to have her here in Brussels. A few remarks before we start the second interview of this evening. It's my pleasure to welcome Matteo Salvini here with us. Where is he? Again here. Aspetti un minuto. Sorry. Here in Brussels, Italy's Interior Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, leader of the League or the Lega, and having him here in Brussels is also a very rare occasion, as people would say, a bit mean perhaps. He is the person that has topped this year's class of Politico 28, and as in any previous year, you know it, as Matthew Kaminski said it before, Politico 28 is not about giving out prizes to good Europeans or what Brussels folk think are good Europeans. This is the newsroom's list, our list of people that we think will shape Europe in the next year. And the next year is going to be very exciting indeed, as we've just seen in the video, with the European elections that have actually turned into a contest with rather serious consequences. We will, at the Minister's request, conduct the interview in Italian, so just the very few housekeeping remarks. You have just been given headsets, they're on your tables. To start them, you need to plug the earphones into the little machine, please. Voila. To listen to the translation in English, choose channel 1. To listen in the Italian original, choose channel 2 or just leave them away. And I'd like to thank and welcome also our audience, who's watching online. I'm told for those of you following the live stream online that there's 2 different channels too, in Italian and English. Well, that's it. Without further ado, I would like to ask Minister Salvini to join me on stage. Ministro, benvenuto.
Minister, welcome. Welcome here. And I ask you to join me on stage.
Buonasera.
Grazie, buonasera a te.
Good evening.
Good evening. C'era prima.
Sono le note del mio collega Tom McTake.
These are the notes that my colleague took before. So let's start about talking about the budget plan in Italy. This is the news that has been going on during the last weekend. The Prime Minister Conte said in Argentina this weekend that Italy is not against Europe, that an excessive deficit procedure is not for Italy nor for Europe, is not convenient for them because we are on the same boat. We are closer to a solution, and we hear in Brussels that Italy might cede. What do you think?
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Politico.eu, because you gave me something that I never had before, even as an MEP. I never imagined to be a hope or a threat for Brussels and the Europeans.
How do you feel? As a threat or a hope?
No, I feel like I'm bringing a hope. I have 2 kids. I want to build on health, safety, respect, and welcoming people, and the respect of rules. So we could give back Europe, back life to Europe. Just look at what's happening in France. I mean, we could revitalize Europe. There's something that is not going well. We could help. We could help.
What's happening in France? Something to do with Europe?
Yes, this too. Because the treaty that has founded the European Union was talking about social welfare, economic welfare, and I don't think that the European countries are living through a period of particularly excellent economic welfare. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had Brexit. So we are on time to get back on the rail. So I want to bring solutions.
Let's start with problems and solutions by Italy.
Also,
What the Prime Minister was saying, Prime Minister Conte, means that Italy will try to amend the budgetary plan for next year?
Well, this means that if we will have to amend some decimals, this won't be any problem for 60 million people. But the basics of the budget won't change. The pension overhaul, the reforms of the work conditions in Europe. I don't think we are aiming towards a collision. It's not in our interest. It's not in Europe's interest.
If we find an agreement or a compromise for 2% for deficit,
I
is it
won't
okay?
talk about figures. I'd like to talk about substance. So I don't think that in Brussels there is someone who wants to sanction Italy for 0.2% less or more. We will bring forward our projects. The last polls of today in Italy say that the Italian government has 59% of the support in Italy, 5-Star and League together. And people expect facts from us, and we need to have counts in order.
So there won't be any sacrifices. So the basic income won't be sacrificed, nor the reform overhaul. Is that what you're saying?
We could modulate those two measures, yes, but we have a contract as government. That's why voters gave the vote to us. We need, I think it's unfair to make people live until 67 years of age.
So if there will be in the end an excessive deficit procedure by the Commission and you would have to pay a sanction, would you pay it?
Well, I think that Italy has many sanctions already, like many other countries. I think that's the sense of Europe that has to change. I was talking about it with my colleague Di Maio last week. We have here prescriptions for all that concerns grapes. If you cut so much the grapes, it's not organic matter, it's waste, and you have to treat this as waste. I think that Europe should deal very well with a few things, protections of borders, anti-terrorism, safety, but for the rest, for the trees, I mean, we can deal with the trees. I mean, each single member state can deal with it. I'm optimist. I'm an optimist. I have trust in the future. I don't think that Italy can be assimilated to other countries like Greece. Yes, Italy is an industrial powerhouse. We have 8,000 billion euros in the banks. So I don't think we have an interest in opening a conflict here. The government doesn't want any conflicts. Our government wants to talk, to have a dialogue, and bring forward things for which she was voted. And I hope the Brussels has the same will of dialogue.
Rules are the same for all.
Well, no, the rules are not the same for everybody. I think this is self-evident. I think the rules are unfairly distributed. But in the last 10 years, for what concerns Italy, all forecasts were wrong. So we go on with serenity.
So let's talk about your project, how to change Europe. We will talk about it later on, and then we will talk about Brexit if there's some concern in Italy. The Bank of Italy recently has made its calculations saying that costs to finance that will be added 1.5 billion euros just for these years, so until 9 billion by the end of 2020 because of the spread. But we might use it for useful things.
Well, I believe that the president of the Italian bank associations, the ABI, said that the spread doesn't correspond to the health of Italian economy. This is clearly a form of speculation not founded on Italian economics, but founded on other speculation, other things. We want to bring this under control because the fundamental data of the Italian economy, the Italian banking system, are absolutely healthy. In positive territory, even better than, faring better than other big countries in Europe. We're talking here about financial data, and that will be brought under control.
So a compromise with Brussels.
We're working on this.
I understood that you're not afraid of
No, no, no,
spread.
Spread cause fear to those people who have money in the bank.
Talking about the industrial area and production areas in the north where the league is stronger in Italy, they might go against this sluggish growth and against the policy put forward by the government, because Confindustria is saying that they do not approve their measures because they're only based on current spending and not on growth. So the entrepreneurs in the north are part of your party.
With the last elections, so we had 1 month and a half in Trentino, and the League took 30% of votes in Trento and 30% in Bolzano. We governed Lombardy, all the East, Trentino, the Aosta Valley, and other regions as well. Very soon. I don't know how much Confindustria represents the real entrepreneurs, because in this budget we will have a tax cut that will never, that has never been done before, and a cut of 30 billion euros in expenses. So I'm talking about facts here, not theory or speculation.
Newspapers are talking about the party of the GDP. So you might be the leader of this party.
Well, I refrain myself to be a vice prime minister for 6 months. I've had results in terms of fighting against organized crime, mafia, and against illegal migrants. And I count on myself, not on Brussels.
Let's talk about migration. Maybe we'll do it later. You talked about the government, and you're in the government between 6 months. And what's your relationship?
We have an excellent relationship with Conte. He's very competent, he is serious, and Di Maio is a very consistent person, reliable. We are young. I'm 45, he is 32. Giuseppe Conte is linking us two. He's like the best synthesis we could have. It's a bet we placed and against everybody, but I think these first 6 months are very satisfying to me. And apparently also to Italians, but the rough times come now because economic matters are not totally dependent on the choices of a state or a government. We are in a globalized world, so clearly there are interconnections. But I'm happy with what we are doing and what we will do.
The head is Giuseppe Conte.
Yes, he's the head, he's the Premier Minister.
Conte is open to other opinion of his ministers.
Many times a day, but not too much. I mean, we have to manage 8,000 municipalities, 60 million people. I mean, it's a country different from other countries because it may differ a lot from Milan to Palermo, with all that is in the middle, regions and municipalities. We need to be good to Milan and to Palermo, but I wouldn't look too much to the press saying that the government is having a rows. No, I will move on.
As an interior minister, you are very interested in other things, external relations of our country and the budgetary measure as well. The portfolio of your ministry has changed, or there's just a temporary agreement that you made as a leader of your party that you take care of these matters?
As a vice prime minister, I've been in Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Ghana, Russia, Romania, France. I'll be next week in Israel. It's my pleasure, it's my duty, and I'm Minister of the Interior, so I'm dealing with fight against organized crime, illegal immigration, and mafia. I think we gave results. We have confiscated 5 billion euro of goods from mafia people, from more than 200,000 people disembarking in Italy. We have had this year up to now, so far, 22,000. I think we've done enough.
There will be a meeting between ministers in Brussels.
We have the budget on which we have to be very careful. But we have a staff of 4 undersecretaries with many mandates, and they are covering the whole of the national territory.
Here in Brussels, we have many diplomats, and some say that it's not worth it for you to reach an agreement on the Dublin reform about the asylum system in Europe, and this is just the beginning for next European elections.
Yes, they are wrong. I've been asked this. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister, we've been asked to change this. How could we want to change these rules? They are outdated. We are always gathered solidarity gestures, lots of encouragement, but no change at all. And I realized after a while that there was much encouragement, many pats in the back, but no change. So I had to find a way within the respect of human rights and the international treaties to solve it all alone as a country, and with very good results. I was reading the list of victims recovered on the sea in Italy from 2015. We only had 23, but there are too many. But the way is the humanitarian corridor in order to escape from Africa and Ghana. We are working with an Italian company in order to help 800 boys to have school, work, and to live with the cost of €6 a day, while every refugee in Italy costs us €30 a day. So when I read in papers, national and international, that I'm a racist, I'm a xenophobe, sovereignist, populist, Nazi, I smile because I think we are working within the respect and the interest of everybody. How do you define yourself? I'm a normal person. The secret of our success is that we are normal persons, normal people.
You said, and I quote, "I received a letter from Brussels. I'm waiting for Santa's letter about the budgetary plan." But I don't think that, I don't know, maybe the Commission will take it wrongly.
Well, you know, when at the European Commission, Matteo Salvini is the last, but when the European Commission, they treat the Italians as carpet salesmen. That's one of the terms that we were labeled with, you know. As I represent 60 million people here. They might have many setbacks and drawbacks, but I don't represent a government or a population of carpet salesmen, with all due respect. So I ask respect, I give respect. I'm an optimist by nature. I think we will move on beyond these formalities. Again, we have no need of a conflict or a collision.
Let's talk about election next year. Next year, you will be the Spitzenkandidat, so the main candidate for nationalists.
Tomorrow morning, I'm going back to Rome. It's Santa Barbara. It's the patron of the the firemen in Italy. And I work basically 20 hours a day. I don't have the time to organize the European elections of next year. We will think about it next year. There are many people who ask for a certain kind of representation, for a leadership within this group of many people of different extraction. But we want to give more life. We want to revitalize Europe. We want to give more power to the European Parliament. But we will think about it next year. But the Vice Prime Minister is already enough, you know. I don't have time to think about European equilibrium.
Which are the parties in this alliance?
Where now the League is linked to Assemblée Nationale, FPO, but we are having signings from Andalusia, now southern Spain. Well, I don't know Brussels, but Italian newspapers don't talk much about international news. But they were writing about the triumph of the far right. Because for the Italian press, if you are not from the right and the left, you are necessarily an extremist, fascist, Nazi, populist. I think that these categories have to be wiped off the plate. We want to have allied to other 26, 27 movements with a common contract for a Europe that has to change country by country from Finland through Bulgaria to Spain.
How can you define this Europe, this new Europe, with less power for Commission and more for the Parliament?
Well, a Europe that does less but better. I think many people think like us, Italy, for instance, on the common agricultural policy, on the next budget, there are choices that are not necessarily in terms in line what we think as a country. There are countries who have great extensive agricultural land. They have their requirements. I think about the Bolkestein Directive, the rules on immigration, certain international treaties, for instance, that have been a flop, have been a failure. Tomorrow, a provision will be voted. The safeguard clause on rice, because in the name of free trade, we opened up the market in the European and Italian markets to countries with health risks and with the risk of jeopardizing the health of the Europeans. I think the member states have had to have the last word on certain themes, and then, of course, fight against the illegal immigration. This cannot be given to the single member states. Europe has to do something.
There's a difference between the European Union that is bigger on the big things and on the smaller things is a European Union à la carte, as Juncker said.
As I said, I have 2 kids. They are growing in Italy, in Milan, in Europe. I want them to roam freely in Europe. I want them to study wherever they want in the European Union. A European Union that has to maintain what it promises in the treaties. Look at the Treaty of Maastricht. Full employment, progress, economic progress, social progress. So beyond populism, beyond sympathies and antipathies in political terms, we have more than 400, almost 500 million inhabitants. We have to pledge ourselves to full employment and economic and social welfare. It's not the case right now. And without citing Athens, Köln, and Paris, there are many testimonies.
I've seen in our video that you and Emmanuel Macron will be the shapers of Europe. You've been very critical to Mr. Macron, the president of France. And is it him the most important enemy for you?
Not anymore, in my view. Judging by what is happening in Italy, I don't think Macron is not a problem for me. Macron is a problem for French people.
On the other hand, that everything is the fault of Germany and the German chancellor. You never said that. Why?
Because between Italy and Germany, there is a healthy competition. These are the first 2 industrialized countries in Europe. We have to learn from them and them from us. But I'm curious by nature. I don't have any prejudicial adversary. I would meet Mr. Macron, Mrs. Merkel. Of course, I'm the vice prime minister. I'm paid by the Italian citizens. But I believe in Europe. It was a fantastic dream that is on the verge of being destroyed, and we will give our contribution to save Europe. Contrary to what people say, because they describe us as destroyers of Europe.
Many ask themselves if the Tsipras method and the way you wipe off moderates is the way to become moderate yourself.
Now, given the actual present situation in Italy, in Greece, I don't wish Italians to go through the same torture.
I have 3 other questions in 24 seconds. Or maybe 20 seconds. Who will be the next commissioner for Italy?
I can't give a name nor a surname, but he will have an economic portfolio. That's what we wish, because it is very important to deal with economic things and not just ideas.
Federica Mogherini will be soon without the job.
Please, don't ask me too many questions too hastily, but it will be most probably someone else.
In Italian newspapers, they were talking about your last trip to Russia. You disappeared 12 hours. What did you do tonight?
Well, I went and buy some gifts for my kids, and I can do this without saying this to the press. Sorry.
Now they know sanctions against Russia. You will support it to extend them.
In 2018, economic sanctions are not a way to solve international problems.